time for a look at the tropics, and with the latest, here's Dr. Steve Lyons.
Well, thanks, Jeff, and we continue to monitor our hurricane out there, and it's of no threat to land. It's moving very quickly now to the northeast. Let's look at the large-scale picture. I'll show you where that is. You can see the hurricane symbol there. It's now moving to the north-northeast at 17 miles per hour, so accelerating rapidly. That acceleration is going to continue. We also have another feature down here. This little X here is a cloud cluster, but that is not going to affect land. It's going to continue on to the north. And we're always looking down here in the southwestern Caribbean this time of year for tropical development. A few clouds down there. Now let's look at the latest from the Hurricane Center. This is the 11 a.m. We just got the 5 p.m. Winds are now up to 85 miles per hour, so it's strengthened a little bit. Pressure is now still 979 millibars. The position 33.7 north, 68.7 west, moving to the north-northeast at 17 miles per hour. And as we look at the circulation, you can see it's really starting to accelerate. Here's Bermuda over here, by the way, and the real impact is only going to be some surf there of about 15 feet later tonight and early tomorrow. All the wave action along the east coast of the United States is going down 6 feet or less, so we really see this as going to the north. And as it accelerates very rapidly north of Cape Hatteras up in here, we expect weakening and for it to become extratropical within the next, 36 hours or less. So it may merge with the middle attitude low pressure system there. So Michael, even though strengthening a little bit, is really not affecting any land. Gulf of Mexico, very quiet today. No possibilities for development. You're in great shape if you're out boating there. The Caribbean, we're always watching this area this time of year, and there are clouds there, but the upper level winds are westerly at 15 to 30 miles per hour. No possibility for tropical development there. And the Eastern Pacific is very quiet as well. So we're in good shape in the tropics. Let's go back to Jeff.
All right, thank you, Dr.
Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Storm Watch, which is sponsored by State Farm Insurance. A look at the record highs we've had already now on this 19th day of October, and mainly in the northern plains. We've had Indian summer taking place. Mitchell, South Dakota, topping the list, a record high of 87 degrees. 86 in Huron, South Dakota. And look at Minneapolis, St. Paul, 82. Looking at the current temperatures, actually Minneapolis is up to 83, so we might have to change this as we have gotten warmer than what is average for this time of year. Here's a quick look at today's forecast highs. Again, very warm in the nation's midsection with south winds taking over. We'll talk more about Indian summer in a moment, but we want to remind you that it is still hurricane season. And to prove it, we have our 13th hurricane of the season over the Atlantic Basin. This is Hurricane Michael. Now, Michael has increased its overall wind field to some 100 miles an hour. The last advisory had it at a minimal hurricane, but then we had reports of the system intensifying and the winds getting stronger. Now, again, 100 miles an hour. It is centered at 85 miles east of Sable Island, Nova Scotia. Now, this is Nova Scotia, and you can see that it is centered to the east. The lowest estimated pressure, 965 millibars, and again, it is moving to the north-northeast at 37 miles an hour, so it's moving very, very quickly, and it seems as though it'll be getting closer to Newfoundland over the next 12 to 24 hours. It is very likely that this system could affect the areas here, the southern shores of Newfoundland, over the next 12 to 24 hours. So watching this system very, very closely. It should not have a major impact over the lower 48, other than kind of a breezy scenario as high pressure builds over the Ohio Valley, and that contrasting with that low pressure moving away is creating a windy scenario over New England. Now, we have been watching Bermuda here, and just south of Bermuda, another little area of thunderstorm activity and convection, but this is not an organized tropical system. Other than that, it's pretty quiet. Look at the central, the western Caribbean. The Gulf of Mexico is void of any tropical development. We don't have anything to talk about here, and so is the Bay of Campeche. It's pretty quiet. But let's take a little farther east, again, across the Caribbean here, and you can see the Lesser Antilles, the islands that make up the Lesser Antilles. And we've had some convection kind of centered around this general area, but again, not an organized tropical system to speak of here. The overall picture across the Atlantic Basin shows a fairly quiet scenario in terms of the tropics. The only thing we're watching is Hurricane Michael, again, as it moves away from the lower 48, but getting closer to Newfoundland. And we will continue to monitor the situation for you and bring you the latest reports out of Newfoundland over the next 24 hours. Bringing
update starts us out with the big picture, and we are watching a few areas out there. One, an area of disturbed weather moving into Central America, so not expecting any immediate development there because it's going to be moving over land. We have a new tropical depression to tell you about, Tropical Depression 18, and finally Hurricane Michael, which is racing off to the north-northeast. Let's start you out with Michael, and here are the latest coordinates centered at 46 north, 57 west. The wind's 100 miles per hour, and it is racing off to the north-northeast at 52 miles per hour, so moving very quickly, and the pressure at 965 millibars. And as we look at the satellite view here, it is expected to affect Newfoundland as we go through the next several hours. Folks there can expect some very strong winds, hurricane-force winds, as well as heavy rain. So that's what we're watching now, moving away from the U.S. certainly. But the interaction between Michael and a strong area of low pressure off the northeast coast made for a rather blustery day for a lot of you in the northeast today. But again, it is going to be affecting Newfoundland as we go through the evening. Well, we are also watching a new Tropical Depression 18, which is centered here in the Atlantic, 28.6 north, 59.4 west. That puts the center about 400 miles southeast of Bermuda. The winds with Tropical Depression 18 are 35 miles per hour. Now, it is moving off to the north at 16 miles per hour, the pressure 1,008 millibars. So a look at the satellite view here. And again, it is moving to the north, but a gradual turn toward the northeast is expected as it gets caught up in a southwesterly flow here. So again, we'll continue to watch that for you and let you know if it gets better developed. Another area we're watching is here, we head toward Central America, where we have an area of disturbed weather that's going to be moving inland there. So again, no immediate development expected because it's moving inland. Well, a little bit of climatology now. Our tropical cyclone origins and typical tracks in October.